Today I wanted to talk to you about pre-riding. There's a lot of races coming up. I know that a lot of you are racing this weekend and we're kind of in the thick of it. And so this is something that is super important to go over because it can have a big impact on your race performance. So to kind of start, I'll maybe talk through a little bit of what I've done and the things that I have learned through my experience. So when I first started racing, I would go and pre-ride and I would kind of just mosey around the course and check it out and kind of get a feel for things. But in my mind, I wanted to ride really easy because I didn't want to waste any energy or strength for race day the following day, which seems to make sense in my head, but through experience I realized that is not how it works. It's actually much better to open up the engine, open up the legs, kind of what we call it, which is why I give you all openers. And the openers are designed to they have a few hard efforts that will open up the engine. And the other purpose of this is that it allows you to get a better feel for the race course. Because the problem is you can kind of go around and look at a lot of things, which is helpful, but you don't really know what it's going to be like until you're riding it fast. And you might be able to think that, oh, I can go around this corner no problem, when actually when you're at race pace you need to go a little slower, or you need to change something, right? There's things that ultimately the course will ride a lot different at race speed than it will just kind of a checking it out pace. So depending on when you go out there, it can be helpful to do a lap or two, kind of just checking it out, but then it's super, super helpful to do a lap, or at least the parts of the lap that are challenging at race pace. If it's kind of just a long, steady climb, there's not much to it. You don't need to go fast on it. But I would recommend riding all the descents at race pace, so you actually get a feel for them and have the ability to ride them at your best ability on race day. And then any technical section, whether that's uphill, downhill, flat, whatever, anything that might be challenging to ride at high speed, it's important to ride at high speed. So eventually, I think it was probably when I started talking to Zach Calton. Zach Calton's a super legit racer. In 2019, he was the U23 short track national champion. Right now, he's doing the Lifetime Grand Prix series. Legit guy, super cool guy, super nice. And we raced a couple of times, had a lot of fun together. And he helped me out a little bit my senior year and our team with understanding kind of how we can perform better. And one thing that was really interesting is that he takes 2 days off before, he takes like the Thursday before Saturday race completely off the bike. And this is what he recommended to us while we were in high school, which is what I often give to you as well, partly because of this. And then on Friday, he would ride like an hour of zone 4 on the course. Zone 3 kind of 4, zone 3 to 4, like pretty like almost race pace kind of a range, which is, at first I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But then I tried it, and what was really interesting is that I was able to ride faster on race day. My body was prepared to go fast. I'm not a physiologist. I don't really understand exactly what's going on in our body, why that works, but I like to think of it like we've kind of been taking out fatigue out of the body for these important races, and therefore your kind of top end is going to be a little bit rusty. There's going to be some cobwebs growing, and we need to blow all that off. We need to clean it out. And when we do the intensity, it preps the engine. It prepares us to be able to then go fast again on the race day. That's, of course, also while we warm up for that same purpose. It gets the body firing, all the engines working properly. And it also allows us to recognize, specifically with the warm-up, it allows us to see, how are we feeling today? Is this the kind of day that I need to race conservatively, or can I take some risks? It allows you to get a good sense for how the body is responding to intensity on that specific day. And the day before prepares the body to be able to ride at intensity for a long time and ride well. So I started doing that, and I immediately started performing better. In fact, I think the first time I actually did this was when I was a junior. So this was before I was racing with Zach Calton, and it was at the Powder Mountain race, the second race in NICA. And the night before, I just decided, I was like, I'm just going to hit this a little bit harder and see what happens. And so I kind of went for it, and, kind of just like a zone 3-ish kind of pace, or a nice tempo where it wasn't super fatiguing, but a lot faster. And I had a lot more fun on the course, which is also a big deal. And then I just learned how to ride it faster. And so then that was the expectation. Versus Powder Mountain, the race previous to that one, I pre-rode super slowly. I just wanted to look at it and save all of my energy. And it ended up being a really ineffective approach because my legs felt heavy and dead on Saturday. They didn't feel snappy. So that's kind of the purpose of these pre-rides and these openers, is to get the legs feeling snappy, right? So that they don't feel dead, they don't feel slow, they feel agile and quick and active. So make sure when you're pre-ride, I know that with the openers, I don't want you to worry too much about following the workout specifically. What I want you more so to focus on is riding the difficult sections fast and riding the downhill sections fast, and making sure you get enough intensity to open things up the day before the race. So even though it says like a 20-minute warm-up and then like a 4x1 minute with X amount of recovery, don't worry about that so much. Maybe I should even change that in Training Peaks, but instead focus in on sustained effort for not too long. I don't want you to completely burn out. It shouldn't be like a crazy breakthrough workout or anything, but this is fast. It's almost race pace, and it's not for a super long time either. Again, it's just on the sections that need to be practiced at speed, which most courses are only, a 20 to 25 minute lap max, oftentimes even only 10 to 15. So theoretically, that should be the most intensity you could possibly have if the entire course needs to be ridden at speed, which is what some people do, like Zach Carlton and other pros. They'll go out and hammer for sometimes a couple hours on the day before a race. I remember last summer I was up at the Crusher in the Two Star Mountains above Beaver, and I was just watching. I wasn't able to sign up for that race that year, but the Friday before, I went and rode a bunch of the Crusher course, and I ran into Howard Grotz and two other pros that were with him, and they were both riding for all three of them were riding for 3+ hours at a pretty legit pace the day before a 70-mile gravel race with 10,000 feet of climbing. And the reason why is because otherwise their body starts to shut down. It feels slow. You have to keep it moving in order for it to be able to perform well when it needs to. So that might be a little bit confusing, but again, this is something that you will feel as you do. If you want to learn the hard way, go ahead and don't ride hard the day before, and it's going to be tough on race day. You're going to have a hard time with the accelerations, and you're not going to be able to keep up. So just trust the process of what I've learned and what I've seen all the pros do, and make sure you get those openers in. But like I said, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy, but it needs to be some consistent effort. Kind of that 10 to 30 minute range is probably great, of kind of zone 3-4 riding the day before a race. So if you have questions about that, you can always shoot me a text or call me. But I hope this is helpful as you're getting ready to race often over these next few months. So thank you.